Welcome to Flavor of the Month, our monthly series here at Hala Hala Productions, where we interview some of the creatives behind our favorite short films. We ask about the inspirations, challenges, and secrets of what it takes to create a beautiful indie short. I'm Mick, one of the members of Halo Halo, and this month, March 2024, we are going to feature the 2023 short film Revenge of Mary Sue. Revenge of Mary Sue is a 4-minute film where a podcast host thinks this week's podcast episode will be his typical surprise slaughtering of a filmmaker's latest film. Little does he know that there's a surprise guest just waiting to jump on air. This film starts Nhi Do as Penelope Leo, Ben Gaumond as Colby Cameron, and Ariel Hansen herself as Mary Sue. I chose this film because Ariel and Joel are one of my good friends, and they're also one of my favorite people in film in the city. And I've been looking forward to find a reason to talk to them. So I figured this is kind of a good time to talk about it. And then I saw Topher was in the film too. So it was like, okay, fine, let's just bring everybody together. So I kind of introduced the three of you already, but would you three of you want to introduce yourselves?
I'm Ariel Hansen. I directed Revenge of Mary Sue, and then I also played Mary Sue.
My name's Topher. I produced Revenge of Mary Sue and was also the production designer.
My name is Joel H. Brewster, and I was the screenwriter for Revenge of Mary Sue.
It's always best to hear it from the people who made it. So tell us about the film, what it's about, and maybe talk a little bit about how the idea came to life.
I think, honestly, you gave the best summary of the film without giving it away that I have ever heard. I would say that the inspiration was we wanted to make a film for shits and giggles, and they talked about nostalgia. And we're all big horror fans, so we were thinking about sort of the toxic nostalgia that can be seen within fandoms and how there's sort of a divide within the horror community of people who are, into diversity, inclusion, and everything. And then there's the people who are very regressive and are like, I miss when horror movies were just tits and you didn't put your politics in them. So we thought that it could be fun to seek revenge on one such horror fan who was being unkind to the modern movement of the genre. And so we took that idea to Joel, and he came up with this awesome short. Do you want to talk about the writing process of it, Joel?
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny thing is I love researching so much for horror. So researching for this is the first time that I was unhappy researching, because I had to listen to so much of these type of like podcasts, and I didn't really have to, but I wanted to really get the vibe of it. So I listened to a lot. I don't even want to get these people to monetize, so I won't say their names, but I watched a lot on YouTube, and it was funny just to hear them dissect and destroy horror. Then I thought back to these other classic horror films that did have these ideologies people would call woke now, like Aliens and and Terminator 2, and like a lot of the old horror movies had all these things people would complain about now. Or so I just really wanted to have fun with it. And then the casting was we only those are the first two casts we had, right? Those are the ideas we had for everyone involved.
We knew them from before, and it was people we wanted to work with again, like immediately, friends of ours. And Ben was perfect in that he could come to set, embody this character, and as soon as the camera stopped rolling, he's good and friendly and just the best person to be around.
He's so funny. He's so funny. Like that's like when I was writing this, he was my first person I had in mind. I was like, he's just so funny. I really wanted him because he just always all of his sketches always make me laugh. So
And he also, there was a couple moments of like just little in-between bits that he improvised that I felt really brought an extra layer to the character. Just
yeah.
like some of the off-the-cuff moments.
Would you remember some of those examples of which ones he kind of improvised in the film?
I think he did a little bit with the yeah all the time after she asks like do you do this with all of your
Like a guess.
Words are hard. Do you do this with all your guests? He definitely took the line in like a very different direction. It was like yep, pretty much all the time. Yep. Instead of like just being like, yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
The poor guy, he had to suck on that vape so much that day. And like we we use just CBD, but even still, like the amount of times he had to do it to get it like right on camera for all the different shots. He's a trooper. He's a real hero.
I think he must have fell asleep really easily that night.
Oh yeah, can only imagine.
That was like the most chill shoot I've ever done.
I gave it to him as a
it
gift.
was a pretty chill shoot.
Fun fact for probably my career in writing, this story is my first and only fart joke too.
Oh.
So yeah, so I thought that was funny. When I saw that clip show, I was like, this is my only fart joke I've ever written. I thought Ben like killed that part. I thought it was like he played it off really, really funny, but yeah, it's my only fart joke, so I laughed about that too.
You can throw it in your reel.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm going to.
Are you gonna hold on to that as that you're like the only fart joke you'll ever put on camera for your whole writing career?
I feel like I want to now because it was done so well. Like I just thought that you guys all pulled it off so well, and so I'm like, I feel like that's gonna be it now. That's it. It's like peak. I was like doing fart jokes. So
Joel H. Brewster does not write fart jokes.
so
And I have to say, it's like a very classy fart joke.
yeah, thank you.
It's not like, oh, that stinks or anything like that.
There was levels of satire.
Yeah.
involved in the
Ben's face killed me for that too. Like just the way he like just like got Nhi to like say the line again and then just do it just made me laugh so hard. So I really enjoyed that.
The way he stares in her eye, like, oh,
Yeah.
are you gonna?
Joel, you did talk about you did quite a bit of research then into this. One of the thoughts I had was, are these kind of podcasts really this absurd? So from your research, how much of that was kind of satirical or hyperbolic versus it actually being the reality?
There's one YouTube channel specifically that I watch the most of. I'm not going to say his name because I again don't want him to get any monetization whatsoever. He has a channel that is, I think, worse because it's like hour long of just complaining about film, and I think he's like one of the worst. And I watched like multiple of his, and
Oh wow.
yeah, it's fascinating though. But sometimes he's like broken clock, right? Sometimes he'll slam a bunch of movies and then he'll like love like everything everywhere all at once, and I'm like, what? Like he sometimes he'll like broken clock, and I'll be like, hey, yeah, it's actually a good critique. But then like every other time he's the absolute worst. So yeah, they're very on brand. Like they're yeah.
Do you think it's authentic when they do this, or is this just like a grift, create money?
It's a good question, Tober, because I wonder too, because like I said, when he is broken clock, I'm like, well, if you can get the understanding of why like diversity and why the story is important in that context, then why can't you for other things? So yeah, I wonder because he's really, and it depends on like how popular something is sometimes. So I wonder. One suggestion I do have for anyone that anyone listening on this is that when you do stuff like this, though, when you do research like this, it ruins your algorithm. So that was a terrible thing. I had
Incognito mode.
I know. I regret that. I was like, I had a ruined algorithm of this guy's videos for so long. I was like, God damn it.
You just try to like counteract it by, I don't know, searching cat videos.
Yeah, just watch
I don't know what the
anything
opposite of this
else.
is.
I definitely have had that when I like watching videos about cryptids, and then you end up with like some videos from people who believe in ancient aliens and stuff in
Yeah.
your feed, and I'm like, that's not what I was trying to watch.
Yeah, the cryptid pipeline to right-wing conspiracy is so close every single time. I'm like, huh, how did I get here?
Yeah. So many do not recommend channel clickings.
Yeah.
So aside from looking into the two different kinds of horror fans out there, were there any other kind of filmmaking goals that you had, Ariel, as you approached this film?
Yeah, what happened was we were originally going to shoot this for shits and giggles, and then unfortunately I got like a really bad throat infection, I think it might have been, or like I got sick and it was like in my throat. I couldn't talk. So we had to cancel the shoot, which we were going to do in September. And so then we weren't able to shoot it in time for shits and giggles, but we were like, we've got the script, we've got everyone, we've got we know the person who owns the location. Let's just try and shoot this anyways and try to keep within the parameters of shits and giggles, even if we don't get to submit it. So then we shot it in December. So it was actually after shits and giggles, but we we're able to pretty much keep within the parameters. I think we managed to shoot it all in 8 hours, just keeping it all very like, let's all have fun. Let's keep this low cost, just a fun short, and throw it up online and see if people enjoy it.
It ended up being an incredible model to just create a short film with little money, little effort, really. It wasn't a terribly hard or, frustrating shoot in any manner, and just an incredible model to overall to do something quick and effective.
I think there was like 6 of us on set in total.
Quite a small crew.
That's including the actors. Yeah, it was just a great challenge of let's make something that looks good but is very compact.
Right. Fair enough. And you yourself played one of the characters, Mary Sue, which I think you are in makeup and
I'm cosplaying, but it's like casual cosplay.
I love it.
it's amazing. Why don't you walk us through that Mary Sue as a character? I'm sure not everybody knows what exactly a Mary Sue is. Maybe explain a little bit of that and then talk about why pick Mary Sue as the character that becomes the ghost in this story.
Yeah, so Mary Sue is something that originates within the world of fan fiction. It actually started, I believe, in Star Trek fan fiction. It's usually like an author's self-insert character that is just, good at everything and everyone likes them, but they're shy. But, it's kind of that anyone can put themselves into those shoes and like just very makes yourself feel like the best. But then that started to get used as a derogatory term for like any female character who seems to be capable. But I think, Joel, you can speak a bit to it as well.
That was another thing I had fun researching was characters that were called Mary Sue's, and throughout fiction, it's pretty much, yeah, like Ariel was saying, like any capable female character gets called that, or the most recent one, and the one at the time that was getting called it the most when I was researching this was Rey from Star Wars, just for a reference for everyone listening. And I was like, oh, that's just really silly trope, like in terms of calling her that, and in terms of calling any female character out that. Yeah, I just wanted to have fun with it, and I thought it was a fun spin on short film and the concept of a Mary Sue that I was surprised hadn't been used this way as far as I'd seen. So I thought there was a lot of fun to be had that way.
Yeah, and it was especially just so fitting because the character of Colby, he's the kind of guy who would be calling all these capable women in films Mary Sue's. So he was killed by his nemesis, the Mary Sue.
Justice.
Yes.
And then in terms of the film, I know we talked a little bit about this already, but are there any kind of little bits of trivia or Easter eggs about the film that you'd say viewers might not know about during the production of the film that you want to share?
One of the opening shots features the award-winning poster from Clout.
Yeah, the poster for our short film Clout actually did win Best Poster at a film festival, so we threw that in there. Another kind of cool thing is actually the location that we got was a friend of ours. He has a room set up in his garage for Dungeons and Dragons. So we literally shot it in like a dungeon. I think he uses it sometimes, I guess, being on camera, DMing for friends, but he also I think he has a table that he can set up in there so people can actually play in there. And he's got like swords and stuff on the walls and everything. And it was like, oh, if we take away the context of Dungeons and Dragons, this becomes like totally that kind of guy's podcast studio.
Amazing.
It's super authentic looking podcast studio for sure.
He offered up a lot for us to play around with and put in the space. Like it was he felt a little bad that it was so like his space that got used for this character, but
Yeah, but he was such a great sport about it. His name's Rob Hunt. He's also in the film industry in town. And so, yeah, it was really helpful. We just brought in like some film stuff to make it more film themed. And then we brought in our mics oh, here's a little trivia. we forgot to plug cords into the mics. So they're just sitting there without anything coming out of them.
Bluetooth mics.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah.
It's fine.
So there.
That's why the company's called Blue,
Yeah,
because they are
exactly.
blue.
Has anyone pointed that out? Any of the comment section or anything?
Not
No.
so far.
Hilarious.
I think only people who worked on it have
Yeah.
noticed.
Ariel has outed us to the world.
Because for anyone who's going to listen to this, just leave a comment in their movie saying cordless
no.
mic.
One other thing I can say too is that I remember when I was looking up, I couldn't find anything on specific what like Mary Sue looked like, and then I saw one drawn picture, and it was like hair with a bow and everything like that. So then I think I sent that over to you guys right after, right, to come with the concept, and then
Yeah.
that was it. So that's the closest I could find for what Mary Sue looked like. So that was another thing that was authentic to the short as well. Bow and hair. That's that was pretty much it.
I was just gonna say that I also made the Mary Sue costume for this too.
Oh, nice.
But
given that Mary Sue has some value as a name, Joel, when you were writing this, do the names Penelope Leo or Colby Cameron also mean anything?
No, Colby Cameron was just like a fun name that I thought sounded very podcasting. Like I don't know if that just kind of came. And then Penelope Leo was just like it sounded like a filmmaker name. I didn't really have a reason past that. I did have one of my favorite pet peeves in there that Colby brought up when he complained about the female character being like, he's like, oh, she was 120 pounds soaking wet. How could she fight this like giant monster or whatever? One of my favorite pet peeves, because whenever I watch action movies and I see The Rock fight 20 people, I go, that's also just as impossible. And it's never brought up. And it drives me absolutely up the wall when someone's like, how could this 5-foot woman fight like this giant guy? I'm like, and how could Tom Cruise fight literally anyone? Every time I see that, I think the same thing. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about here. The logic here is actually more likely. So that was one of the pet peeves in there. Actually, most of the things he said were all direct spin-offs of things that drive me insane that I hear online. So that's a Easter egg there. And I'll hear them again online. I definitely will. I know that. So
human capacity for violence is infinite. Just
yeah.
When it comes to also say the film, were there any things that you drew from in terms of inspiration as you were creating this film?
yeah, so some of the things that I drew inspiration, at least visually, for the lighting and the shots and stuff was lots of classic radio scenes from horror films, because it's always really cool when you've got like the radio DJ and they're in this kind of dark room, their booth set up, and it's like they're being all sultry and the lighting's awesome and it's like a little bit misty and smoky. Definitely in The Fog from John Carpenter, the radio DJ in that. Radio DJs from Rob Zombie's Lords of Salem. And then there's a few like horror anthologies and stuff that have incorporated radio DJs that I was drawing from that for the visuals, but then kind of merging that with. I've never actually watched the right-leaning podcast stuff. I've only watched the leftist dissections of them, but you end up seeing a lot of clips of that. So I was like, let's sort of merge those two. So it's still kind of got like the cool genre vibes, but then we're adding in those shitty podcasters into the mix. Then also just, I really liked what we ended up doing for the shift when Mary Sue showed up and just everything getting those bright lights and the color drenching it like it's the reveal in Creep Show. Yeah.
Love it.
I'd say my inspiration really came from Colby Cameron himself, because this was his space, and there was two ways that I could really go about it. I could either go, really sleek. He's spent lots of money. He's a really well cut, right wing, money hungry podcaster, or, and I mean, this is the direction we really went in, is he's a up and coming basement dwelling. You see the display of his film collection. You see his collectibles of
His pop idol.
His which?
Pop figurines.
Oh.
He's got like a, it's not lit up, but it's like an LED anime girl light. We've got like the alien eggs in there. It's like it was a lot of fun just to kind of like bring that side of the character out and make this imposing
So much
space.
of it just came from my office.
I mean, it's all collected.
Not the anime girl, but
Yeah, that one was.
most of the other stuff.
It's a low budget film and we recycle, but you know, if you put enough things in a certain context, it paints a picture.
Talk a little bit more, I guess, about that in the sense of like working with low budgets and making it work. Because I feel like one of the first episodes we had here was talking to Mark with his movie White Lady, and they did that for Red and Gun as well, and they had a very small team. I think yours is definitely much smaller than that too. It seems like it's a very common thing in the film world that horror filmmakers tend to make the best of dirt, pretty much. Maybe talk a little bit about your experience in that, and how do you make gold out of dirt in that sense, or what are the biggest challenges you face, and I guess also the blessings or the good sides of it as well.
Well, in terms of art direction, you want to go by the 3 R's. It's reduce, reuse, and recycle. So a lot of stuff that makes it onto our films is repurposed or found objects. We borrow a lot. I personally like to collect a lot of strange things, mostly from other film sets that I work on, and it usually just, again, it's about context and how if you take certain pieces from something else, put it together in a spot, it creates a story just inside the art itself. And I think there's a lot to be said about using what is around you, because you're going to be able to tell a good story based on your own life if you're bringing that context to the screen.
What's really great about the horror community as a whole is often people are interested in things. The budget doesn't matter. What matters is having a great story. You just have to start with a great story, and then you have to figure out what can you do within your means to make it look convincing. And it's just often a lot of creativity with how you shoot it. So that's why, honestly, most of the best monster movies, you barely see the monsters because A, they're expensive, and B, the human mind can imagine something much scarier than whatever anyone can put on screen. So having that mystery of it can actually entice your viewers more than if you did throw a bunch of money at it and have a wolf man running around the whole time, cutting people's heads off on screen. It's almost more interesting to like maybe see a snippet of fur going past and then see the aftermath. And then you just really have to use your shots to tell the story without showing everything, and that creativity makes it even better. Sometimes a low budget can just make you think about things differently, you know?
And Joel, as for you as a writer, does budget ever come into your mind when you're writing these things?
I just need to know what the budget is and how many actors we have, and then I can write something. So I didn't know how the story was going to end until I started writing it and saw how the characters were going to talk. And then once I had them talk, then I could see, and I just need to know the page count. So pretty much all I need to know is the page count, how many actors, what actors we have, or how many actors we have, and then what the budget is. Then I can write within those parameters. So, and I just love that. I love like coming up with this, having the characters talk and see what works,
Right.
and then sending off a draft. And I've sent off drafts to all 3 of you, and then just being, oh, try this. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I just try that, and then that's what I always love,
Right.
no matter the size of it. And I hadn't written anything ghostly as much before. I think I've done demons and aliens and cryptids, but I hadn't really done ghostly. And this was more of a ghostly thing, so it was kind of fun to play with the world of what the ghost powers were, the summoning of it, and why it was summoned, and then also play with the joking side of that on it being summoned to a guy that's kind of just talking shit about a character that's a Mary Sue. All of that made for it to be really fun. And then to do more of a comedic stuff, because I've been doing a little bit more comedy. So that was fun to see if the jokes were going to land. But I figured that the jokes would land not because I'm funny, but because Ben and Nhi are both really funny. And Ariel is really funny, and like Topher also gets comedy. So I knew everyone that was on set is really funny. So I was like, I really didn't have to be funny as much. So I just kind of wrote stuff that I knew everyone around could make funny. And the location was able to, like, everyone put everything together to be funny.
The
But you
comedy
were
makes
funny, Joel.
Thank you.
the comedy makes for a really fun like set experience. Quite honestly, it's a good vibe.
Yeah, I thought it was pulled off really well. So yeah, I was really, really proud of that.
It's also cool to like for how we ended up doing the death scene, like figuring out how we could do that with a low budget and also with minimal mess, because you do not want to get fake blood in someone's house and have to clean that up. Figuring out how to like make it clear that something bad was happening, but without having like the big gashes and everything that we might be able to do in a bigger budget thing was a cool thing to think about and execute.
In terms of all these limitations, I know, a lot of people, it's hard to face a challenge or a limitation and kind of find a way to work around it. Are there ways you cope with it, or how do you kind of work around these challenges and difficulties rather than kind of shying away from them?
I'd say that the real advantage to a low budget is efficiency, because you're reducing the amount of people in your crew, you're reducing the amount of equipment that you have to pick up and move around, and the efficiency allows everything to move a lot faster. You get to see it come to life in front of the screen because you're not using a lot of special effects, you're not using a lot of computers, you're not planning for a huge post process. You're seeing it come to life in front of the camera, and I find that kind of invigorating because you're actually almost drawing it.
Also to speak to that, it's like, okay, so you've got a low budget, so you've only got like maybe 3 or 4 lights. Lighting a scene is going to be a lot faster when you're just figuring out where to put those 3 or 4 lights and not having to have 10 people discussing and then moving around so many things that changing the shot could take like an hour just to relight it. Instead, you've got such a minimal amount of things going on that it's like, okay, we're changing the shot, and it's relit in like 10-15 minutes. And so you're able to just keep things rolling so fast that you get a lot done in a day.
Well, here's a little bit of a more challenging question. If you were given a little bit more money to make this film, what would you change about what you would have done?
We would have plugged the microphones in. No.
Hire a mic technician.
There was, of course, also within the parameter, because we were sticking to the shits and giggles parameters, keeping it short, like keeping it to 4 minutes-ish was a part of the things that the challenge that we were working with. So it could have been fun to potentially explore making it a little bit longer. And also, I mean, having more effects is always fun. More gore.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved to see more of the Mary Sue scenes in that kind of trippy
Yeah, it could have
experience.
been cool to have an like actual conversation between her and Colby somehow, instead of just having to cut right to, okay, goodbye.
Yeah, like to have a whole film based around a podcast would have been a fun thing. Even a longer short. I'm trying to think in my head now because now you got me like, oh, could we do a feature? To have a whole film based around like a
I was
podcast
just
would be
thinking a
fun.
longer short.
Yeah,
But...
I was like, can we do a feature? Would be fun because I think there's a lot of fun to be had with like Penelope, and like there's more characters. I'm thinking way too much about this already, but I just think like
Well, if
there's a
you
lot
do right.
of fun to it. I know, I know. Like I'm like trailing off because I'm thinking of what I'm like, yeah, well, you could add this to this part of the story, could do this and then this. But yeah, to put it in short, I think there's just a lot of that could just be added to the characters. Everyone acted in so well. The overall vibe and the look of it was just really, really there. Like that, I thought that it was like a beautiful location and the lighting of it was really, really well done. So I think that there was a lot to be there's stuff that could be added to it that I don't think people would have been bored. I think there've been more laughs and like Ariel said, you could add some more gore.
Now, Ariel and Joel, this isn't the first time you've worked together as a kind of writer-director duo. We've worked together in, I mean, even just in a film capacity, I think the three of you have worked together in many different ways. How does it feel working with the same people? What's the collaborative process like between each other?
I like working with both of you two because I enjoy your company and like being friends with you. And so then like just spitballing ideas. It feels like there's yes anding, like in improv, that's kind of the rule is, someone brings an idea and you, instead of being like, no, that sucks, you add to it. But like there's also the element of we all are comfortable enough with each other to say, hey, I don't think this part quite works, but here's an idea of how that could be zhuzhed to instead to make it work. So I think there's a lot of positivity between all of us when we work together, and we all just enjoy each other's work. So it's like I'm always hyped to read the stuff that both of them send me. I hope they're hyped when I write things and I send them.
100%.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, like, I think we have three like distinct voices that work well together though. So I think that that's a really fun thing. Like, even outside of just like our fandom for horror seems to be like mildly different too. So when you guys suggest things to me, I'm like, oh, okay, let me check it out. And I'm like, it's really like sometimes something that's off my radar. I'm like, that's a great call. Like I didn't know of that, or like very obscure things I usually get from the both of you. And yeah, just insights in general. I really, really enjoy your insights. Huge Bad Cookie fan, obviously, from the very beginning. And I'm just always rooting for you guys, whether I'm lucky enough to work on the project with you or not. But yeah, I just think the distinct voices really work well together. And we even traveled together. So we all went to Toronto, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think we work well together. And I'm just very glad I met you guys when I did.
And me too. And I think that working with these two, there's a lot of trust. We have similar tastes. And when somebody suggests something, we know that it's going to be to the benefit of the project and to the benefit of each other. And I feel like we have that enough in common that we know what we're all looking for. There's definitely a bit of a shorthand when it comes to working with Joel and Ariel because we like all the same things, but we have these different contexts. And when I get recommendations from these two, it is incredible. Like it's exactly what I would have wanted to see, but something I didn't hear about.
And I think, I also think we're all we like to be collaborative in our work. We like to have everyone who's working on something have their voice heard and bringing ideas to the table instead of it just being one person saying, this is my film, it's going to be this way. I know when I'm directing, if someone has an idea, I'll listen to it. Sometimes I might be like, but usually there's at least something about the idea that's like, yeah, let's add that into the mix. We can maybe change it a little bit this way to make it fit in with everything, but that's a cool idea. Let's see what we can do with it. So I've always gotten the vibe from working with all of you that that's how you like to work as well.
And I really appreciate that on the collaborative process when somebody brings an idea, it expands a film past even what I could have imagined it to be, right? It
Exactly.
makes the back and forth makes it bigger. It's like a snowball that's rolling downhill.
I guess just to wrap up a little bit about the chat about Revenge of Mary Sue, is there throughout the whole film process, do you have a food for thought that you would want to share that you may have learned through the filmmaking process of the shoot?
I got one. Go in incognito mode, what Ariel said when you're researching, because it'll mess up your algorithm for a very long time, and then you know what? Sometimes you'll be a sucker and just start clicking on the guy's videos and just ironically hate watch them, and you know that's just causing more problems. Is this one anecdotal and very personal? Yes, yes, it is. But that's what I'd like to add for this one because I kept on thinking back to how many of this guy's videos I watched after this. And I'm like, I'm not even researching anymore. Now I just make myself suffer. Well, I would just really say though, like outside of that, I would just say that like yeah, like talk to your team and just come up with good ideas. I don't past that. Yeah,
Just every script Joel wrote after 2023 just sounds
right leaning. It was weird.
all like just white men and naked women. I
Right
don't
leaning.
know what happened.
They were
So
political.
much gore and nudity.
Yeah.
It's like 27
And just like a
fart
bunch of
jokes in this feature.
men just being assholes.
Not one passed the Bechdel test. Like they were just like terrible.
What happened to his 2023? Broke him.
I think what I took away from Mary Sue is just how important it is that the people you're working with are happy and on board, and working with your friends is a really good way to create those bonds that'll make a stronger team overall. When people are there, and you know, we always make sure that we feed everybody really well, because when you're working with volunteers, you want to make sure that the experience is worth it for them and memorable, so that they want to come back and they get excited to come back and they get excited to bring up their ideas and they get excited to collaborate. And I think that was the best thing for me from this film, was just the camaraderie involved with everybody.
Yeah, and like, I mean, it's not something I really learned on this film. It's definitely something I've taken from previous films, but just working with people you can trust and trusting the people you work with. So like from the directing perspective, we brought on board a couple of actors that I knew that they were going to do fantastic in the roles. So a lot of what you see on screen performance wise, they brought to the table. They didn't need tons of directing and everything to get it just right. They had great ideas, and because I trusted them, they were able to bring those to the table, and they trusted me to show their work. And it was in the future to maybe try to have someone on set who's just like, you know, looking for little details, maybe like a script supervisor or something who might have noticed that the mics weren't plugged in. No, none of us were thinking about that. So to have someone whose like job is to be like, that's a little weird for continuity, that would probably be nice.
Yeah. I do have one more thing to say, actually. Another thing that makes it easy for me as a writer is that working with people you're fans of. I'm a fan of Bad Cookies, so I know Bad Cookies like films very well. And I'm a fan of Nhi and I'm a fan of Ben, so I know their action performances really well, and I've seen everything they've done pretty much. So I feel like that, like the combination of that, it made this really easy. I was like, oh, okay, I can picture exactly how they're going to do this, and everything was kind of written for these people as well as written for Bad Cookies. So I knew how this was all going to work out in that context, and then I was just blown away. So I'd always suggest work with people you're fans of in the context of like researching and watching their stuff, or just be lucky enough to be friends with such talented people. Yeah, I think that makes it really easy for writers out there.
Yeah. Also, though, don't be afraid to try working with new people. We actually did have a couple people on set that we'd never worked with before. Shay, who did the makeup, our original makeup artist was sick, so she wasn't able to do it, but she recommended Shay, and she came on and did an awesome job. As well, our cinematographer was someone we hadn't worked with before either, but we met through the film industry, loved their demo reel, and had talked to them previously, so we asked if they'd be interested, and they also did a bang up job, so it also can pay off to meet some new people and expand your group.
I agree.
Usually at this time of the interview, we ask about what you're working on in the near future, but I personally don't have to ask this because I kind of know what you guys are working on, and it's something I do want to talk about as well, because I guess I am part of this as well.
Absolutely, you are.
Ariel and Topher together run Bad Cookie Pictures, which has a fun story that involves weed, I believe, when it comes to the why it's called Bad Cookie, which we'll leave that tale for another day. But in the future, they're also planning to work on developing a sort of anthology series. I'll let you guys talk more about.
Yeah, so we're currently developing a horror anthology feature that, I mean, if everything goes really well and we get to do more of them, it would become a series of features that would involve changing settings. But it's called In These Very Woods, and it's a horror anthology that all the shorts are united by the location of the woods. So all of the short films take place in the forest, and we've got 6 different filmmaking teams coming on board to create these 6 different shorts, one of which the filmmaking team of Mick and Joel are going to be in it. I'm, of course, writing and directing one. Topher's writing and directing one. And then we've got Eva and Hunter Grant making one. Rami Kalan and Mohammed Ikmal are working on one. And then Jordan Wanch is also working on one. And so they're all going to be blended together using the format of group of friends telling stories around a campfire. And that will be what we use to introduce each short film, and then also outro it into the next one and cut between that for all the shorts. Would you like to add anything, Topher?
It's going to be a group of people around the fire telling stories, just like Are You Afraid of the Dark, grown up and darkened for all of you people who grew up watching those kinds of shows like I did. So we're really excited to bring about some of the best and brightest, like up and coming voices from British Columbia, and just to showcase this amazing province that we live in the best possible way, light that I could possibly think of. Really, I'm
And
so
the
excited.
creepiest possible light.
The stories that we've collected and the scripts that have been developed have been some of the most inspiring that like I'm so excited to see it come to life, because it's so diverse and so it's like nothing I've ever seen before, and I'm really excited to to bring it about.
So in these very woods is Are You Afraid of the Dark in feature length version for adults.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah, I think I kind of have a gist of it. Tell us a little bit more about how you came up with this idea.
It was really almost a frustrating time for me. I was back in Edmonton, and I was thinking about like what would be the coolest thing I could do to make a film. And originally it was this idea that I would rent a campsite for like a week and invite all of my friends to come out, and we would just like work on each other's films, and it would be like a summer camp of horror filmmaking. And we came to, and I brought this to Ariel, and it
And
was, and Jordan, actually, Jordan Barnes Krause, and I was like, we should make something so cool where everybody, brings their own voice and uses the same place, but, paints it in their own context and paints it in their own like light. So everybody creates a story all in the woods. And then in the end, we get to come together and have like this finished, crazy project of.
well, I distinctly remember you originally were like, we'll make short films. And then I was
Yeah.
like, but Topher, we need to level up. Let's turn it into an anthology film. Then we're able to get the benefits of making a feature film, but by breaking it down into a bunch of short films, it makes it a more manageable thing. We've all made short films before, and we all know how to make a short film. So it takes something that seems huge and unattainable and breaks it down into manageable chunks. And so, yeah, that's how we ended up bringing it to this level.
And as it's developed, it's just taken on a whole new life of its own. And I'm really proud to be to be working on it.
Yeah, we've even got but Tooth and Nail. They've come on board as to make it a co-production between our two production companies. So that's also going to be exciting to be like our biggest sort of collaboration to date in terms of like the producing side of things.
And I mean, our biggest collaboration just in terms of 6
That too.
different teams.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, the most collaborative thing we'll have made so far.
How does it feel? I mean, with the two of you at the helm, how do you manage so many filmmakers into this collaborative process?
It's overwhelming, but it's very exciting to see everybody bring their own life to it. Their own, like, you put out an idea and you ask people to just write a whole story that takes place in the woods, and you're you're inspired when it comes back, and it's like nothing you could have ever imagined. I could have never done any of the other stories. My story is mine, but the ability to pull out these stories from all sorts of different people is just incredibly like inspiring to me.
Yeah, I think it also helps too that we were selective in the people who we brought on board, and we made sure that it was all people who are people we get along with and enjoy spending time with. Oh, we get to talk to really cool people and get some great ideas flowing.
Any last words in terms of promotions or things you want to talk about when it comes in these very woods?
I mean, right now we're in the process of starting to apply for grants. So if you know any good ones, send them our way.
Oh,
Also, tell people you like us. You got to be around like, hey, have you heard of those Bad Cookie folks? I
Yeah.
hear they're pretty good at making really cool, interesting films.
Also, anyone who's independently wealthy and wants to fund independent film, come talk to us.
for anyone who has microphone cords too.
Yeah.
Cool. The final question I have is, where can we find you? Social media or whatnot, or where do you want to be found? And do you have any promotions or shout outs that you want to do?
Oh, there are so many places you can find us. At least for Bad Cookie Pictures, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook. We've started posting TikToks. And then we also have most of our short films that have done festivals up on our YouTube channel. And keep an eye on our YouTube channel, February 29th. We will be releasing something that has not been put up online yet.
Oh, snap.
An award-winning film will be
Nice.
coming to YouTube on February 29th.
That would have been after this episode is the day before this episode is released.
Oh, yesterday.
Tomorrow.
Oh, now.
Yes, sir.
Check it
Yeah,
out
go
now.
to the
Out
Bad
now.
Cookie YouTube channel and watch Clout. We already talked about the award-winning poster, but it has won awards for other things too.
And it's pretty incredible all around.
It is. Out now.
It was ambitious. Yes.
Feature on the way. Out now.
What about you, Joel? Anything you're promoting right now?
You can find me at West Coast Strange if you want to see some deranged memes and some jokes and an absolutely insane Instagram story feed. Topher gave me the nicest compliment of all time about my Instagram story feed, and I've never stopped. He said it was like, I don't remember how you put it. I think you said like the most like your favorite thing to watch for ADHD, and I was like, that I've never stopped since then. I was like, you know what? I post doubly because he said that.
It's snappy, it's different. You're in one way, and then the next minute something else is hitting you, and it's always entertaining.
He honestly told me that, and I was like, it's the nicest thing ever, and I've never stopped, so I always add to it. And yeah, I'm working on some other projects with everyone here pretty much involved. So follow these fine people and
Also, if you are in Mumbai, India, go to Wench Film Festival in the beginning of March, and you can see Damn Supper on the big screen.
hell yeah, definitely do that.
What is Damn Supper?
Damn Supper is our most recent festival short. It is just wrapping up its festival run. It's about a group of wannabe witches throwing a dumb supper ritual on Halloween to conjure up their images of their future loves, and they end up conjuring the dinner guest from hell.
My grandma?
I'm in it.
Yeah, and I'm in it.
And I believe you made the dresses or the outfits.
Oh, yes, and yeah, I sewed 3 Victorian gowns and a 1940s evening dress. So if you want to look at more of my sewing, go to Hansen's Haberdashery on Instagram.
Awesome.
You're gonna find the bad cookie stuff on our YouTube. You're gonna find it on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I've been making the TikToks, which has been really fun for me. And I also feel like our website is a really
Yes.
good place to see all of our stuff kind of together. So it's just a really
BadCookiePictures.com.
badcookiepictures.com. It's a really good platform to see, our films, our holiday specials, our web content, our our old podcast. So anything that if you're looking to kill a lot of time, there is no shortage of bad cookie content for you.
And to be clear, you don't have to go incognito to visit your website.
No, that's a good
our-
algorithm. That's a good algorithm.
Yeah.
Although some people probably were watching one of our films in incognito mode. It's not a sexual film at all, but it somehow ended up on a fetish playlist.
Yeah, that's a fun story. Ready to burst?
Yeah. Yeah, so our first short film was one that I wrote and directed, and Topher produced and production designed, called Ready to Burst. And it's to do with unusual pregnancy. And at one point, there's like weird depression or impressions coming out of the stomach and deforming it and stuff. And it ended up, when we put it up on YouTube, because we were like, well, let's just throw it up there. And it's now our best performing video on YouTube with like over 50,000 views. And what kicked it all off was it ended up on a playlist for people with inflation fetishes.
And we're not
This is
talking
something-
about economic inflation.
No.
No.
And there is a comment that is like time stamped to when the distortion happens and is like, this is the good part.
I didn't know what the comment. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
What's also hilarious is I'm pretty sure one of the people who came to watch it from that playlist or something, they left a comment early on being like, oh, the acting's not very good, it's not a very good film. And then a year later came back, replied to their comment, and were like, that was really unkind of me. This is actually quite good. Everyone did a good job. I'm sorry that I was so mean. Something like that. And I was like, no one apologizes.
That's the
on the
rarest
internet.
thing of all time.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Warms my heart.
Yeah.
Somebody watched our film again.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's better on the second viewing, apparently.
Apparently.
Fetish or no fetish, yeah. If you have any questions you'd want to ask the filmmakers, leave a comment on the video. Or if you want to nominate another film for Flavor of the Month, send us a message at Instagram at wearehallohalo. And also remember to leave a comment at the Revenge of Mary Sue video mentioning about the lacking chords in the microphone. Then we know you've watched this episode all the way through. You could watch Revenge of Mary Sue in our new YouTube channel, We Are Hallow Hallow. It'll be under the Flavor of the Month playlist. It should redirect you directly into the Bad Cookie Pictures YouTube channel. I'm Mick. Thanks for listening to the, how many now? 5th episode of Flavor of the Month. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, this was fun. I'm still like processing that last story.
I think that's weird.